Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. This is episode 73, and I'm your host, Brian Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. Be sure to like and share the program as well. You can also support the program by going to Anchor FM or Spotify and clicking the support button. Folks, I want to tell you about Houses for Warriors. Houses for Warriors is located in Denver, Colorado, and they provide assistance and help guide and direct homeless and at-risk military veterans and first responders into a self-sufficient status. Houses for Warriors provides a safe, caring, and loving environment and believes that every warrior deserves a hand up so they are more equipped to handle our modern society's fast-paced lifestyle. Growth is possible at any stage and for any life path. Warriors have spent their whole life serving, and so now it is time for them to be given a place to transform their lives. Houses for Warriors is having their very first charity ball this Friday, November 18th, in Denver, Colorado, at the Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum. It will be a great night of fellowship, camaraderie, and giving. I personally invite you to join me and the Houses for Warriors team for an unforgettable night. Get your tickets or leave a donation today by visiting housesforwarriors.org. That's housesforwarriors.org. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. Brian Barber Sr. is the president and founder of Mission Fish. FISH is an acronym for fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing. Brian served 10 years in the Marine Corps and was honorably discharged in December 2005 due to failed back syndrome. Upon his discharge, he attended the University of Phoenix, where he obtained his BA in business management. In 2015, he created and founded Mission Fish, fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing, a 501c3 nonprofit as a tool to help combat PTSD, anxiety, depression, and TBI amongst veterans, active duty, first responders, and Gold Star families while fishing. As of September 2022, Brian has taken over 2,500 of America's bravest and most courageous service men and women out for a day of fish therapy at no cost to them. Brian continues to build the mission one fishing trip at a time. He's building that mission one fishing trip at a time. With that, we are honored to be joined by U.S. Marine veteran Brian Barber Sr. How are you, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for the opportunity here. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, what you're doing is something that I believe in wholeheartedly. I know we've known each other for quite some time now. You're based in Southern California, and you're just out doing God's work. It takes a village of folks like you to begin these programs. To benefit and help the folks that may need it the most. And what you're doing is selfless. And it does take a special guy to set these trips up, and to be there and to help guide, inspire, and encourage our nation's, like you say in the intro, bravest and most courageous people that may be going through some challenging times in their lives. So I know what you do plays a monumental role in changing their lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's something that I feel passionate about. It's been helping me, so I figured I want to give what I can with what I got. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot, but if I'm able to take them out, like you said earlier, for a day of fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing at no cost to them, that's what I'll do.
Sure, it's therapeutic for you. It's therapeutic for them. It's healing for you. It's healing for
Correct.
them.
Correct.
Uh, Again, it's the camaraderie, and it's about getting together. It's about getting people outside of their comfort zones so they can begin to live.
Correct.
And
Correct.
sometimes it takes that first step to get dragged out to a fishing trip. Sometimes being the first step on getting their lives back together. Whether they've been self isolating due to depression, anxiety, physical pain, whatever it may be. Sometimes it takes a fishing trip to bring people together, to exchange phone numbers, to begin getting out of the house, to meet for coffee, to meet for lunch, and begin to live that life of value that they
Yes,
once
sir.
did.
That's
So,
exactly it, man. That's exactly it. That's what we strive to do. We try to give them back that like you said earlier, that camaraderie that they lost when they got out. I want to
mhm.
build that back up. I want them to be able to reach out to somebody, even though they may not be in the same branch or served in the same unit or served in the same era. They can always relate and fall back on fishing together.
Sure, sure, yeah, and same team, right? I know there's a lot of,
Right.
poking fun back and forth at each other, but that's what
Right.
veterans do. You got
Right.
to appreciate the dark humor at times.
Correct.
But when it comes down and dirty and right to the point, look, we all struggle in life. We all have our challenges and our obstacles, and sometimes it's being around those like-minded individuals that will
Yes, sir.
that can understand
Yes, sir.
the magnitude of the struggle, and again leaning on one another
Right.
to make it through those times. And
Right.
sometimes there's not a better way to do it than on a fishing boat out
Yeah.
in the middle of the
Well,
ocean.
that's the thing about it. It's just being something about being on the water just does it. It gives them a sense of one comfort. It gives them a sense of stability, but to me, it gives them a sense of confidence because one, there's nowhere else they can go. Two, they're surrounded by, like you said earlier, their like-minded brothers and sisters. Three, we're having just conversation. The fishing part is the tool. I mean, it's just something for us to do. It's more of the conversations that I'm interested in. I like to hear their stories. I like to hear what they've been through. I like to hear how if they've ever gone fishing or not. I like to see how they interact with their fellow veteran brothers and sisters, and um, I also like to see how they share their lives when they struggle. I want to see how do you do it. Share with the guy or girl fishing next to you. Share with them how you heal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because fishing is just one opportunity. I mean, there's so many different variations of healing out there, and I just
Hmm.
feel that fishing to me does it for me, and that's the reason why I press it so hard.
Absolutely. Like I tell a lot of people, a lot of veterans on this program quite often, that there's not a better time in America to be a veteran.
Right.
There are so many people out there just like you that are willing to put in the work to help. And there's something for everybody, whether you're
Right.
building a guitar, or you're going fishing, or you're going to a faith-based camp, you're going
Right.
shooting, hunting, boating, kayak. It it's
Anything.
There is something for everybody.
Everyone.
They probably even got basket weaving.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So
I wouldn't doubt it.
so I want to get to know a little bit about you before we dig any deeper into
Okay.
Mission Fish. Can you tell me a little bit about where you're from, and what your childhood was like growing
All
up?
right. Born and raised in Oxnard, California. Um, my parents divorced when I was around 12 years old, so I had to become the man of the house. And I think that's when reality set in for me as to focus on. I can't really say myself, focus on others because I had to take care of my sisters, my brothers, assist my mom when she needed it. So I think at that moment, then is when it was time for me to say, okay, it's not about me anymore. It's about childhood coming up was okay. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I had a very strong family. My family is very faith based. Um, we went to church. I'm not gonna say every Sunday, but we at least went to church twice a month, if not more.
Mhm.
Um, After that, going like I said, going to high school and then graduating high school and not knowing really what to do in life, decided to go work at the the VW spot or the Chevrolet spot in Ventura, and it wasn't really more of a career. It was just a job, just to be able to support my family. I had a buddy of mine came by my house. He says, came by for dinner, and he goes, "Hey, I'm joining the Marine Corps." And I was like, "You are out of your mind. Do you know who the Marine Corps are? You know who they are, what they do? Who, you know, the Marines are it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You're still out of your mind." So he leaves. And then I'm sitting there with my wife at the time, and she says, "Well, you know, that's your best friend." I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, you know, you can't let him go by himself." And I was like, "Yeah." So this was in March, man, in March of 95. In April of 90, April 95, I left.
You left because your best friend influenced you to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So, was there any other options on the table for you?
No, I was changing oil, man, at the Dodger dealership. And it wasn't a career. It was just 9 to 5 changing oil. And I couldn't see it as something longevity. So when he came by the house, it was more of a timing thing. Like I was still working, and I told him, I said, "You know what? Maybe it's better for me to do this. Maybe it's something real that I can, you know, really take pride in. Not knowing that my grandparents, my grandfathers were both in the service, and they have their days where they go. My one grandfather goes fishing every Thursday. That was his thing. Every Thursday he was fishing, and on Friday we ate the fresh fish he caught. My other grandfather was going golfing every like Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was like, that's the life I want. And I knew then, okay, that's what I need to do. I need to get in the military so I can end up like these guys.
And there you have it, folks.
There it is.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
So you would go on to spend 10 years in the United States Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
Describe the sacrifice of serving your country.
It's putting the country before anything was something that I felt deeply in my heart. I knew, like I said before, both my grandparents had served, and they served in times that thankfully we didn't serve in. You know what I mean? Those Vietnam eras, those World War II eras. So being able to put the country before anything was very important to me.
You know, it's very, very eye-opening that you do say that, because it's not eye-opening to me, because that's how I believe, but it's eye-opening to what I'm hearing today is that other people aren't having that same direct correlation with putting country before self. And with that duty
different.
And with that duty and that honor, and you say that, when I say it's eye-opening, is because recruiting numbers are down all the way across the board in our country, and we are a all volunteer service,
right?
And things were different in the 90s and even into the early 2000s and to the mid 2000s,
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, it just seems as if people aren't interested anymore in serving. And that's a problem,
right.
because, without a military, we won't have a country,
right.
And we'll be speaking a different language here before too long.
Yes,
and
sir.
so, it takes men like yourself to help educate and inspire this next generation, if you will, of warfighters that are going to protect our sovereignty and our Constitution and our country.
Yeah.
So it does take a village, and I know you're out doing the hard work, boots on the ground. Do you ever take any kids out to try to inspire them? Do you have kids that come out with, say, grandpa or mom or dad that come out and
prior to COVID, we were allowing guests, or we were allowing participants to bring a guest, because we had the space. So we're saying, hey, if you want to bring your son, your grandson, your wife, your spouse, sister, whatever, please bring them. So that way, one, they can see how you interact amongst other veterans, and they can kind of understand when you act a certain way, like, okay, that's why that's why she's because she's around his brothers. Um, this past November 11th trip, we integrated with Wounded Warrior Project, brought them on the boat. They actually brought out their veteran, but they let their veteran bring out their family support member. And I think that's very huge as far as going forward, because I think the family support is huge, because we need that. I mean, we can't,
Mhm.
like, man, you've been there. We can't do this on our own. We have to have a
Right.
strong support system. And if our support system isn't strong, then we're gonna feel like, what I mean? I can't do it. So it was great to see some of the participants bring their spouses, or they brought their children on the boat, so they can see that. And I took my kids numerous times fishing. I mean, believe it or not, my son now, he's at Shepherd's Air Force Base in Texas. He enlisted in the Air Force, and I think it was in July or June, left in August, and he loves it. He goes, Dad, I thank you for this. I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. And I said, hey, the thing is, you're doing it now. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you did it 10 years ago, 10 years from now, you're doing it now.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, you can always start. Every day is a new
right.
day to begin
Every day.
something
Yes,
new.
sir. Yes, sir.
And you do that until the day you die, and
Correct.
you'll find purpose in that. And once you find your purpose, there's no
Yeah.
turning back.
Nothing.
So,
There's nothing in your way. Nothing gets in your way.
so the reason why I was asking if you have, some kids that come out sometimes on these fishing trips, because being around other veterans, it can really rub off in a very positive way in children. And let me explain. Like, I'll go to Veterans Days events, or I'll go to the Marine Corps birthday that we just had a cake cutting ceremony,
Hoorah.
or these 9/11 events, and happy birthday, by the way.
Yes,
People
sir.
bring their children out, and they experience this, you know, this patriotism, and like you
Right.
said, putting your country before you, and that duty and that honor and that sacrifice, and you get goosebumps with the flag, and you
Right.
get goosebumps with
Music.
all the band
Right.
stuff, whether it's patriotic music, or if it's military band music, or if it's really anything for that. Something that makes you proud to be an American.
Right.
These kids get out there and they feel that. And I think that's
Right.
something that all these kids need to be around and appreciate. No, guys, you are living in the greatest country in the history of the world.
Right.
And we can remain this way, but we can't remain this way if people continue to turn their backs on God and turn their backs on the country
Correct.
that has given so much to them and their families for generations and generations. Plus of the blood that's been shed, from World War I all the way up into the OIF, OEF,
Correct.
veterans. So again, having children be a part of these events is
Instrumental.
so important,
Yeah,
because
I take my daughter, man. I
yeah,
take my daughter
yeah,
on trips, and I tell her, look, some of these guys have missing limbs. Some of these guys are in wheelchairs. Some of these guys and girls are in the older eras. And I tell them, look, that's an actual hero right there. They don't have
right,
to be showcased on some program or some magazine to be told that. I go,
right,
that's what, when I take her on the boat, I go, you're surrounded by, okay, I can tell her those guys are Marines. You see how they act. They act just like me, kind of weird, but we're one of the one percenters, right? So then, but there's every other branch in here. And I told her on the trips, go talk to them, go introduce yourself to them, hear their stories. You're going to be surprised when you hear their stories, when you read it in a history book. And you're like, oh yeah, he was talking about that. It's eye opening for her as well.
yeah, sure. And really, like you said, it's on the job training.
Right.
You pull her out of school for
I
something
do.
like this,
I do.
they're going to learn a hell of a lot more on that boat than they would
I
at
do.
school.
I do.
And
I take her. I mean, I
yeah,
didn't take her on this past 11/11 trip because she was actually she's on independent study. But I've taken her on numerous trips. I said, this is history in reality right here. You're talking to people that have been there and done that. And some of these guys and girls on there, like, they've been in combat. They've seen things that they would like to forget. But when they get on the boat, they're able to express that and talk and get it off their chest. And while we're fishing, you know what I mean? So it's like, I tell them, enjoy the day. Please enjoy the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell her at the same time, go walk around. Just listen to the conversations. Look at their body language. See how they act when they're on the boat, when they get there in the morning compared to when they leave the boat. She sees it, so she knows.
Yeah, absolutely. They probably show up and they're kind of shy. They could be
Very
depressed. They
reserved,
could
man.
be,
Very reserved.
riddled with anxiety.
Yes,
We don't
sir.
know what people are
Tremendous.
going through.
Tremendously.
And
Right.
then when they leave, they're probably saying, "Hey, I'll give you a call next week.
Right.
Here's
They're
my
high
number.
fiving.
Hey, what's your Facebook?" And
Yes,
then all of a
sir.
sudden we're building these new relationships. And who knows the last time they may have had a meaningful relationship.
Right. And to me,
So,
that's when I get the most joy, is when I see that. When I see that
yeah.
individual that's very closed off in the morning, very reserved, not wanting to interact with anybody, more interacting with the people they came with. Once I see them catch that first fish and that smile happens and they're high fiving and now they're enjoying it more than they thought they would, that's when I get my healing. That's when I'm like, yes, that's one. And I just look for the next one, continuously looking for the
Mm-hmm.
next one.
Yeah, it kind of, puts an exclamation point on what you're doing and
Right.
why you're doing it, and to see it play out in real time.
Right. Right before my
That
eyes,
is,
it's kind of like, wow, like there it
yeah,
is.
it's a very, very rewarding experience to know that
Right.
what you're doing is not only working, but it's happening before your very eyes, and you get to
Right.
experience that. So when you go to these events and you're raising money, and you can share these stories of hope,
Right.
and how your mission works.
Right.
So you did spend 10 years in the Marine Corps, and when you got out, what did your transition back into civilian life look like?
Uh, for me, I would say it sucked, man. I just didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to do certain things. The structure was gone. You know what I mean? The forced
Hmm.
structure, I would say, was gone. Because in the Marine Corps, hey, PT at 07, we're doing this at 08, we're doing this from there to lunch. Then we go to chow, we come back, then we're doing this. When I got out, I was like, wait a minute, there's no one else to share that with. There's no one to do that with. Um, so I thought, damn, I might as well go to school. So I went to college and tried to just get my degree because I knew I had to provide for my family. And at the time, I was told that college is the only way to go to be able to get my um, income to where it should be. So I did
Hmm.
that. Went to college and graduated from University of Phoenix, and then from there worked a little bit at Amgen and a couple other places. But that wasn't me. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I was kind of just walking the line, I guess, but it wasn't what I wanted until I got a hold of a couple of people that were actually doing what I'm doing on another level, a little smaller level, up in Arroyo Grande area, and that's when history happened. I said, I'm done. I need to do this for me and for my fellow brothers and sisters, and here we are.
When you're out on the water, how far out do you go, and how long are these trips?
The boat leaves at 0700 in the morning,
Hmm.
and we go out. The boat takes about an hour and a half to get to the fishing grounds, depending on where and what's biting. Um, we fish at from, I would say, maybe 9, 8:30, 9 o'clock to about 11. Then 11:11, man, I shut the boat down. I shut the boat down. Everybody stops fishing, and it's more of a camaraderie session. I thank them for being there because, like I told you before, they could be anywhere on that day, but they're there with me, and they're trusting me to give them the time and effort for what I do with my nonprofit to them. So we shut the boat down. We play taps on the over the loudspeaker. We have flags. Um, I tell them that I appreciate them. um, I tell them that today we're remembering the ones that didn't make it home, the ones that are not present, and I don't mean by present because they're deceased, just they weren't able to be on the trip. Maybe they couldn't afford to get gas to get there, or maybe there's something that happened to where they weren't able to come on the trip. But I shut the boat down just for that moment. We have a moment of silence. and then we get back to fishing. It's about 15 minutes, but to me, that right there is what it's about. Being able to shut the boat down and just do what we're doing, be in the moment, be present. And I tell them before we leave, matter of fact, before we leave the boat, before we leave the landing, I tell them, hey, all your anxiety, leave it here on the landing. All your depression, leave it here on the land. All your anger, leave it here. You're being surrounded by your brothers and sisters with like-minded personalities. Come out and hang out. Don't worry about what's going to happen on the boat. Leave all your negative energy right here. Because when we're on the boat, we want to be positive. We want to be sharing. You know what I mean? We want to have a good time. And we get a couple that come out on the boat and they have their issues, but we also have a clinician on the boat that's able to talk to them. And hey, after they talk and they have their conversation, they get it off their chest. We're back to fishing. And then we come back in from fishing around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Once we get back in on land from fishing, we usually go have dinner somewhere. We provide that for them, just a kind of a breather to, hey, sit back and relax and enjoy, whether we get barbecue from someplace or tacos from someplace, pizza from someplace. But I like to give them the full experience. So that way they have a full day of us.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very extraordinary what you do when you go out in the ocean. And once you're out far enough, an hour and a half off the coast, you shut everything down, and that's your 15 minutes to personally connect with these veterans and these first responders. And like you said, play taps and play these patriotic, I'm proud to be an American, I'm proud to be a soldier, a Marine, an airman, a sailor, a police officer, a fireman, an EMT, a 911 operator, everybody that has served our country on different levels, and that you're going to have their undivided attention. And it's kind of like you're doing it in not only privacy, but again, you are out where no one can hear you, no one can see you.
People cry, man. People get emotional, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, you are having that direct moment. And I believe it's at that moment when you can really touch lives, because you've got that 2 hours, you got that 3 hours of them already starting to relax. And then you open up with this 15 minutes of direct communication. And I think that's where a lot of these feelings and emotions may start to happen. Like you said,
yeah. Right after that is when it's on, and you see the difference in their body language. You see the difference in their emotions. They're actually high-fiving. They're shaking hands. They're more into it because we are on the same page. Yes, you are. Yes,
right. Yeah, it's almost like comparing it like, hey, let's go about behind the woodshed and we're gonna have a conversation. That's your privacy with another Marine. Say, hey, look, I don't want to freaking embarrass you in front of everybody else. I'm gonna take you out behind the woodshed and we're gonna have a conversation. It's kind of like you going out in the middle of the ocean. You are going to get these people vulnerable. They can open up on that boat. What happens out at sea stays out at sea. And they don't need to worry about any, I don't want to talk about my anxiety or my depression or my life challenges because I'm afraid that people may stigmatize me or think less of me. But when you're out there, everybody can be themselves and they can open up, and that's where the healing actually really begins.
Correct.
Now, I want to know from Brian Barber Sr., what inspired you one day to say, I'm going to start a nonprofit and it's going to be Mission Fish. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take wounded warriors, veterans, military personnel, and first responders out on. What was the vision? What did the vision look like? And what was the blueprint that you took to get there?
Well, my brother passed away. My grandmother passed away within a year of each other. And I was in a dark place. Didn't really know, didn't really know how to act, how to deal with that. My buddy Jason, I give him credit every time, and he knows it. He says, hey, let's go fishing. I go, well, I haven't done that in years because, believe it or not, when I was in the Marine Corps, I didn't fish. All those countries we've been to never fished. So when I got out, and like I said, I lost my brother and grandmother, and he invited me to go fishing on a twilight trip with my buddy Jason. We went fishing on my other buddy Jordan's boat, and when we were out there, I felt the sense of comfort. I felt the sense of peace. I felt being grounded. I didn't have no one typing me. I had no people weren't talking, about me. They were talking to me. They weren't talking behind my back. It was more just a comfort. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm onto something. And I thought, wow, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me feeling that. So after that, I went on another fishing trip, and this one was a fishing trip with hoop netting on the Cobra. And one of my buddies, Kevin Brandon, was on the boat at the time, and he was filming. And he had just got off one boat and hopped on the other boat. And I was talking to him, and I go, "What is it you do?" And he goes, "Well, I make films, but I have a nonprofit called The Real Guppies, and we take underprivileged kids out fishing." And I thought, bam, there it is. So if I can kind of mimic what he's doing and add, veterans to this, and first responders and active duty service members and Gold Star family members, that's what I'll do. And the wheels began then, man. And I just full force just attacked it.
What would you say you get the most of? Who participates most in your program?
It's funny because when we have them register, before this past year, we were making them choose one affiliation, whether they were a first responder, a active duty, a veteran, or a Gold Star family. So a lot of them were choosing veterans, not knowing that they were active first responders. You know what I mean? And I was like, damn it, that was on me to make sure that they would be able to choose. So we updated our form to where they can choose both a veteran and a first responder, or a veteran and an active duty, or an active duty and a first responder or Gold Star family member. So, but the majority that we take, I would say, is veteran. Man, it's probably about 75% veteran, and then the other 25 is mixture of first responders, active duty, and Gold Star family members.
Yeah, because a lot of veterans are first responders as well.
Correct.
So they're trying to check both boxes.
Right. And when there was only one option, they were
Right.
just choosing the veteran option, not knowing that there was two. So we changed it to where now they're able to check both boxes. We're able to see the numbers increase now.
So can you just say you have no issues at all? You're living a great life, and you have no post-traumatic stress. You have no baggage. Like I said, you're living a great life, but you're a veteran. Are you allowed to go out on this trip?
Yes, sir. And the reason I say that is because, like I said, the acronym is fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing. They may not be suffering from PTSD, anxiety, depression, anything, but I want them to share with their fellow veteran brothers and sisters how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it they do to cope with their everyday life, whether it's working on cars, running a podcast, doing anything. Like, I want them to share that with them, because like I said, I can't give them everything when I take them out on the boat, but I can at least give them opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if they're able to talk to, let's say you came on the boat and you were to talk to you would fill their head up with so much stuff. They're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, that's what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
The interacting part, that sharing part. Because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, we're all trying to heal somehow, some way. We're all trying to heal, and it's how we deal with it is what's important to me.
Yeah, I think having those mentors on the boat, like I'm going to call them, I'm going to call them, mentors.
Yes, sir.
The veterans who don't have any problems, the first responders that don't have any problems, but we all have problems. But it's how they manage the problems. So they've managed the problems maybe better than some of the people that are on the boat, and so it's awesome that you take both sides here, because look, you just can't have a bunch of people in the same room that are all suffering from the same thing.
Right.
Nobody's going to know how to heal each other besides having a simple conversation. But if you have that one guy in the room that says, hey, look, I used to be in your shoes, and this is what I did. Now you have somebody that's literally interacting with them that can help guide them and help give them the education and the knowledge that they need to get that 1% better and to start getting their life back, because you are a direct representative of who you hang out with. If you hang out with a lot of depressed and anxiety riddled people and broken people, you're going to become that person.
Yes, sir.
But if you hang out with great people that are successful, and they're, and they're doing everything the right way, and they're contributing in an honorable way to society, you're going to be that guy.
Right.
So I think that's a very good move on your part, a very smart move, that you would include both, of those people, because again, there's only one of you on the boat. So to have other people that they're saying, oh yeah, I'm very successful, I own a business. And again, they're inspiring these other guys to say, you know what, I can be like Bob too and start my own business.
Yep.
And if he could do it, I could do it. As a matter of fact, he's taught me a lot just on this 3-hour fishing trip that I'm going to get off. I'm going to communicate with Bob. I'm going to build a relationship with Bob. And I'm going to get started in my life to get things turned around. You never know who you could be reaching.
Never know, man. It's all positive. You know what I mean? It's all positive.
Yeah. You're not out there. Yeah. I mean, what kind of negativity are you going to have on a fishing trip out in the middle of the ocean? I mean, people love that stuff.
The funny thing is, people get out there, man. They fish and they forget that they're fishing. That's what I do. I forget. I'm so focused on just having conversation and listening and understanding what they're going through. And I'm like, oh crap, it's time to fish. Oh yeah, let's fish. And then I put the rod and reel in my hand, and then I'm talking to them still, and I get bit. And I mean, even my line's getting bit, I'm still conversating. I'm like, oh, let me get this fish up so we can, you know what I mean? I just totally forget about it. It's just being in that moment with them is what drives me.
Being in the moment, living in the moment. That's what so many people have forgotten with cell phones and everything else. And look, I'm guilty. Look, I think we're all guilty. And it's funny, like, for an example, I'm watching TV last night, and former President Trump is on TV. He's making a big announcement, and he's all over national TV, and you have this huge crowd in front of him. And this could go for anybody. It could be a concert, it could be a sporting event or whatever, and all you see are cell phones. Okay, so when the media is behind you, all you see is all these people, and you have literally everybody in the crowd has got a cell phone up. And
you're not going to see it on TV later, right?
Right. And so I'm thinking to myself, that looks silly. That looks silly seeing it. But if I was there, I would probably be doing the same thing. And the crazy thing is, if you actually put that cell phone away and actually live more in the moment, you're going to get a better view. You're going to actually hear what that person's saying and not be so engaged. And I got to make sure that I get my phone position right. I need to make sure I'm just like the World Series. Everybody's got their phone out to get that last play.
Hit. Yeah.
Or that last out. Yeah. But are they going to really
remember it?
Are they going to appreciate that last out? Because did they actually see it, or did they see it through the lens of their phone, which was foggy and it was distorted? And see, that's what I want to be more like, is living in the moment more and having those experiences and those moments that you can only talk about and not actually share. Because you'll get to talking to somebody and it's like, oh yeah, I caught this fish. And then you say, wait, hold on. And then you spend a half an hour trying to find that fish on your phone.
Right.
Just to show them that fish. But I remember back in the day, you'd be like, yeah, I caught a fish. It was amazing. Let me tell you about it. And you described the fish.
Well, that's how it is on our trip. We have no cell phone service out there. There's no cell phone service. So our phones out there are mainly just cameras. That's all they are. Video cameras, we can put in our pockets now compared to putting one on our shoulder like we used to do. So that's, like I said, that's another forced healing scenario out there. There's no phone. I mean, you can't have mom calling you. You can't have businesses calling you. You can't have work calling you because you have no service. You know what I mean? You're stuck out there with me. And that's why I tell them. That's why I appreciate them being there. You could be anywhere today, but you're here with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. And I think, that living in the moment is very important. And I think if more people actually stopped for a moment and lived in the moment, that there would be a lot less anger and depression and anxiety. Everybody's always, moving at such a high rate of speed,
Correct.
trying to get everything done. They're trying to post on all 10 of their social media accounts at the same time. And I mean, it's like we as Americans, we put so much added anxiety on our daily lives, and it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way.
You and I do the same thing, man. We put
I know. It's like we're alpha males, and it's like we feel like, okay, I got to get this done. I've got to get this done. I've got to make sure that I have all these, T's crossed and my I's dotted, and because I want to get out information. I'm trying to grow a podcast. I'm trying, and you're trying to grow a 501c3, and this is how we run. We are doers. We are go-getters, and so having that anxiety and that alpha male driver behind you is kind of like our best asset and our worst enemy.
Correct. Yes, sir. 100%.
All at the same time.
100%. 100%.
Now, I know we've kind of already talked about this, but I want you to describe it a little bit more on what it's like being out there on the ocean with veterans. Do you get to walk around and speak to each one individually and kind of learn, or are you out there as well with the fishing pole trying to?
No, believe it or not, man, I don't fish until after our 11/11 ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I feel it's important to let them know that I'm there for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make my rounds. I'll just find out what their names are, what branch they were in. Things like that. It's mainly it's about them. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, then after the 11/11 ceremony, that's when I start fishing. But even then, when I fish next to them. I have conversations with them. We continue, the beginning part when we're on our way out is when I'm getting to see who really needs more, not gonna say attention, but who really needs me more. Mm-hmm. And then after the 11/11 is when I start focusing on that individual or those individuals more. Like I tend to fish next to them. I try to get them out of their shell, a little bit more comfortable. If I'm catching a fish, I'll say, "Hey, look, I got one. Where's your fish at?" We start poking. You know what I mean? Where's your fish? I know you're gonna get a fish. Oh, I got one. Okay, let me see. Let's see if you can get a bigger fish than me. You know what I mean? Well, I'm going to get a bigger fish. Matter of fact, I'm going to catch 2 on this one, just so you know. You know what I mean? It's just, but it gives exactly what you're doing there. It makes them smile. It makes them be like, you know what, this is fun. We're having a good time.
It's no different than being out in the field or,
Nothing. You remember those days?
With your Marines or, in the barracks on field day, whatever, you're always just screwing around with everybody. And, you're just being a Marine. You're just being silly. But again, it's the camaraderie and it's knowing that, you guys are cut from the same mold and, and you're enjoying that moment together. Now, you did mention earlier that you see a dramatic change in their persona and their attitude and the way they walk, talk, engage from when they first arrive on the boat to when they get off the boat. Describe that transformation a little bit more.
It's when they get there, they don't know anybody. You're just almost like when you get into boot camp, you don't know anybody. You're there by yourself. You're like, oh man, I'm in this room with, 65, 75 other people. No one knows me. No one looks like me. No one's from my area. So you're very reserved. And then, like I said, we start fishing a little bit during the day. We do the 11/11 ceremony. Once that 11/11 ceremony hits, I think that's when they understand that we're all related. Now, may not be by blood, but we're all related. Like you said earlier, we're all cut from the same cloth. We all understand what it's like to be a veteran. We kind of all understand that, hey, we all sacrificed. We all are in this moment together. We're here. There's nowhere else for us to go. And then, like I said earlier, we start fishing together. And then the conversations get a little bit more in depth because now they're able to open up a little bit because they understand that whatever happens on the boat stays on the boat. I'm not going to take it back and say, oh, yeah, there was this one guy and he did this. And he did, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you the positive story, but I'm not going to give you the negative part of that because it happened. Mm-hmm. It was him or her spilling their heart out to me, telling me what's bugging them and what's ailing them. And that's when I talk to them and say, oh, yeah, I've experienced that too. That's when they see like, oh, okay, Now I can be a little bit more relaxed. And like I
Mhm.
said before, that's when the high fives start coming up. That's when the crap talking gets a little bit more intensified, because now they're like, hey, I know I can talk about this to this guy. We can joke about branches. We can joke about this. We can say, okay, now the Navy's going to outfish the Marine Corps today. Like, yeah, no, you're not. But we do things like that. It's just the fun camaraderie of it. And then once they're off the boat, believe it or not, we come back to the dinner or the barbecue, and then the conversations continue there. And then
Mhm.
once we're done with the barbecue and they go on their way, I'll 9 times out of 10, I get a Facebook request or an Instagram request, or a text message. Hey, thanks for the day, or an email. And that's how the relationships began. I think that's how you and I met. I mean, just
Mhm.
talking about trying to get you on the boat, and unfortunately, we weren't able to, but we're here. You know what I mean? That little bit. Had I not reached out to you and we not discussed certain things, we wouldn't be here.
Well, we were both on Veteran Voices
Right.
with Dan Fitzgerald,
Yeah. And it was just
CBS,
a matter
CBS
of
LA.
right.
Yeah.
And both named Brian. I was like, you know what? I got to reach out to my brother. And that's what I did. I reached out to you. You reached out to me, and we conversated. But it's just those little check-ins. Hey, you good, B? How many times you check in on me all the time? I check in
Yeah.
on you all the time. Hey, man, you good out
Yeah.
there? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, but that came from the initial of this nonprofit. You know what I mean? Had I
Mhm.
not done this, me and you wouldn't be doing where we are today.
And it's a good thing that you're Brian with an I.
Oh, that's the only way to spell it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, um, I know that when you're out on this boat, you take in a lot of baggage,
I do.
and
I do.
you probably hear a bunch of stuff, as I
A
do too.
bunch.
People don't call me to tell me how great their day is going.
Right.
When people have problems with the VA or with their life or whatever, they look to us as perhaps a symbol of hope, and we take a lot of baggage in, and it's hard because in order to help that person, you got to put yourself into this situation, and those situations are very, very dark places to try to understand exactly what is going on, so I can counsel whoever's coming to me for help and guide them in a way that I would want to be guided if I was in that same situation.
Correct.
Who do you look to for strength, and do you have a mentor that you can go to help offload and to help unload some of the baggage that you're left with after these trips? Because I bet at sometimes you get off that boat and you're stressed out and you're like, man,
Oh
I just
man.
helped 50 people, but they just
Right.
unloaded everything on me,
Everything on me.
and that's a lot to take in for a man.
It is.
Who do you look to for strength?
Believe it or not, man, my wife. My
Mm-hmm.
wife is my rock. I when she sees me come on the boat, she's like, okay, let's go talk. Let's have a conversation. We do that. I'm able to tell her everything and not feel judged. I'm able to cry in front of her when I feel it. You know what I mean? And not be like, oh, this guy's a wuss because he's crying in front of me. She understands now what I go through. She goes on the boat with me, so she sees it, and she can relate. Um, so besides her, I also have three main brothers that I talk to. One is Paul Hardy, great guy, Marine Corps veteran. Um, Giovanni Perez, another Marine Corps veteran, and then Jose Luis Mendoza, who was a Navy veteran who runs the DAV Chapter 12 out here in my area. We talk, I would say, at least twice a month, and that's when I'm able to kind of just lay it all out there. Hey guys, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on with me, and they all give me three different angles, but they're all
Mm-hmm.
positive angles. They're never, well, no, well, too bad. You shouldn't feel that way. Well, they go, hey, it's fine, man. Go outside, take a breather. You know what I mean? Go throw your line in the water at the lake over there. Um, get out the house, go do something. It's all positive feedback from them. But
Mm-hmm.
that's my go-to. My wife and my three amigos there.
Yeah, it's all meaningful.
Right.
It's like this podcast. We're adding real life value to the lives of everyday people. And folks, if you are in the Southern California area and you want to go out and fish with my good buddy Brian Barber Sr. with Mission Fish, go ahead and you can reach out and contact him today at missionfishusa.org. That's missionfishusa.org. Brian will get you into some fish. You'll share in some camaraderie, some
Yeah.
fellowship, meet new friends, have great conversations, and perhaps may even have experience of a lifetime when you're out there, fishing with these America's heroes.
Right. The thing about it also, man, is we cover everything. So don't feel like you can't come on the trip because you can't afford your rental rod. We cover that. You can't afford your license. We cover that. You can't afford the fish cleaning. We cover that. We even give you a $10 galley credit to use on the boat. So you'd be able to have a burger or something during lunchtime. We provide breakfast as far as donuts, coffee, bagels, juices, things like that. And then after the trip, we usually go to dinner somewhere. So I encourage them to come out and experience it, because once they do, they'll be able to take it home and share that with their loved ones. Say, hey, let's go fishing. Let's get on the boat. Even if you're not on a boat, you can go to the lakes, go to the pier, go to the surf. Just being out on nature's, what we have, it's amazing for me. So I hope people take advantage of that.
This would be a good time to plug your sponsors.
Right.
What type of relationships have you built in your community when it comes to sponsorship?
We built a very strong relationship with Oxnard Monday Club. They donate to us every year to help us put veterans on the water. Turner's Outdoorsman, Fishing Syndicate. There's a lot of organizations that help us do what we do daily. And without them, we wouldn't be where we are.
What type of life advice can you offer our listeners today, Brian?
I think we touched it as far as being in the moment. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. I tell them on the boat, live every day if it's your last. Have fun with it. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the stress, the anger, the anxiety, the depression. That too shall pass. But as long as you have a good support system in place, you're indestructible.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is it's all great, man. It's all good. I mean, what you do, it's saving lives. It's giving people the opportunity to do something that they may have otherwise not been able to afford to do.
Correct.
or never
It's
would have
expensive.
gone out.
It's expensive if you go by yourself. You're looking at $200, $250 to do what you do as an individual, and I cover that. I want you to come out and experience it just once.
All right, so we go out there and everything's great. We're catching fish. We're slaying.
Yes, sir.
Are they allowed to keep the fish?
Yes, sir. They can keep their fish. They can get it cleaned however they want it. If they want it whole, they can take it whole. If they want it gill and gutted, we provide that. If they want it filleted, we provide that. Like I said, it's your day. It's me giving thanks. A lot of questions I get is why first responders? Why do you take first responders? They have such good programs and good insurances. And I tell them, yeah, but they can be millionaires. But if they're not right mentally, a dollar means nothing.
Those guys are in combat every single day.
Every day. They're
in combat every day.
Right. When my wife dials 911, believe it or not, the Marines are not showing up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish they would, but they're not. You know what I mean? My fellow firemen, my police officers, my EMTs, they're going to be the ones showing up for my wife. And that's why I take them, just to give them a little bit of a thanks here. I can't pay you, but at least I can get you out on the water and give you a day of fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing at no cost to you.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that so many nonprofits have began to use the nurses and 911 dispatchers,
correct.
And, all your police, your fire, your rescue, your
EMTs,
your EMTs, ambulance, lifeguards. I mean, these are the folks that are taking care of everybody here in the United States, and like I said, they're in combat every day. I mean, a fireman alone, they're seeing traumatic experiences. They're rolling up on car accidents. They're rolling up into gunshot wounds, to stab wounds, and these guys see it every day, multiple times a day, and that's a lot to take in.
Oh, it is.
And
it's not family. Just, you know, I mean, they have family. Yeah. They relate to that, and they take it home. And it's
children,
stings.
and
it stings.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot.
Yeah,
when you look at veteran suicide, it's probably just as high in the first responder world.
Yeah, and that's the reason I take them out. I just want to give them that one day, man. I mean, I can't take you out every day, but if I can give you just the one day to come out and fish, interact, share, and heal at no cost to you, I'm going to give you that opportunity. You know what I mean? I don't want you to worry about anything. I just want them to come out and just conversate and let all their baggage back on the landing to where when they get on the boat, it's just me and you.
Perfect, man. I love it. And once again, guys, we are joined by Brian Barber Sr. Out of Southern California. If you want to fish, contact him today at missionfishusa.org, and he will get you out there on a boat, out in the ocean, and he will get you into some fish. You can catch them, fillet them, bring them home, have a cookout, get some tortillas, make some fish tacos, and again, sharing the camaraderie, the fellowship, and be around our nation's heroes, our first responders, our military veterans, and again, just get out there on the water and heal and begin to heal and have that great day, because you never know what one day can do for for someone's life to begin to get 1% better, to get out of that comfort zone.
You see it. You see it firsthand when you see them out there, like I said, very reserved until they get that first bite. When they get that first bite and that fish comes over the rail, their whole mindset just changes. It's just like, yes, I did it. And then all of a sudden, now they're back into what we were before we got out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Channel Islands is my sanctuary, man. Being on the water is it for me. As you can tell. Can you see that? The islands there, right? There's the islands.
Love it.
Right?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, listen, this has been a great interview. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do for our great nation.
Likewise, man.
Our military, in our veteran communities. Your service, dedication is truly admirable.
I appreciate you, man. I congratulate you two on your success over there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I see you. I see you, man. I see you.
And I see you.
Yes, sir. That's what it's about, right?
And I'm a big fan.
Oh, likewise. Likewise.
Until next time, for Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.